What I propose is that there are these two great ideas. The first is the idea that the human mind can grasp the universe, meaning everything there is.
Yeah.
And the second is the idea that the human mind can grasp itself. And I argue that the first great idea dominated for thousands of years until the early modern period. And then the second great idea became dominant, and everything changed in every field.
Yeah.
And so that's what the book is about. And then I also argue that both of these ideas are still within us as individuals and as a society. And they don't have a very easy, they're not harmonious.
Yeah.
They don't go together very well in our thinking and in our culture. And so then I propose that thinking about this history will show us why we have so many confusions, both intellectual confusions and practical conflicts, political, moral conflicts. And then I propose a way forward.
Yeah.
So that's how the book, that's sort of an outline of how the book goes.
Yeah, and I really like what you said about being later in your career and looking over the whole field and trying to put things together. I really like that. As I talk with systematic theologians, oftentimes they'll say, writing a systematic theology book is for a mature theologian. Like if you're
Mm-hmm.
22 years old, straight out of seminary or whatever, and you're trying to write a whole systematic theology, these things need years and years of pondering and chewing on and teaching on and reflecting on. So it's really cool that you're doing this. So
I think
I'm yeah, and I'm really excited about it. I think these two ideas you mentioned in the intro, I believe, that they're almost so basic that it's like why even reflect on them? Like, yeah, okay, the mind can grasp the universe, but as I chewed on it myself, it was like, wow, this is a really fascinating idea, and to not have this idea, and then to then grasp it would change everything. And you talked about why it's not necessary to think that the whole universe is uniform just because you're out there in the field harvesting corn. Maybe just that part of the universe is uniform, but to
mm-hmm.
actually project that on or conceive of the whole universe as being uniform is like a pretty staggering thing. It's pretty perspective changing. Do you think that there was a time in history when people didn't have this idea, or is this idea always, do you think this is part of like the human conceptual framework and it's just been reflected on more?
Right. That's a fascinating question. I have thought about it, and I don't know if I can give a good enough answer without knowing much more than I know about history.
Yeah.
Uh, but one indication that the idea created a kind of intellectual explosion is the beginnings of ancient Greek philosophy in the pre-Socratics. So when you look at the ideas that we see in the pre-Socratics, Thales thought everything derives from water.
Right.
Anaximenes thought it was breath or air. And Anaximander thought it was something like the infinite or the boundless. I can't remember exactly what the translation is. Now, when I used to teach the pre-Socratics, students thought the idea that everything is water or air was kind of silly.
Right.
But actually, there was something about it that was pure genius. The idea that there is something that everything is.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if it's water or air or the boundless. The very idea that they're looking for something that everything is means that they must have had the first great idea. And did people before them have the first great idea? There must have been some who did. But at least in Western philosophy, the first the first people of record who show quite clearly that they had the first idea would be the pre-Socratics.
Yeah.
So I give a little attention to them. And that, as we always say, started both science and philosophy, because both science and philosophy really do attempt to look for universal laws,
Yeah.
physical laws, metaphysical laws, mathematical laws. And that urge to do so really arises from the idea that there is a unified reality. All of reality is in some sense one thing, or it's one interconnected. It's a thing with an interconnected structure.
Yeah.